Dexter plays They Are Billions by Numantain Games. Welcome back to They Are Billions. This is the after-action report of the Noxious Swamp. We just finished that run. It was a 3.5-hour mission. And we were told in the beginning that we were going to be dealing with spitters. Our mission objectives there were just to wipe all the infected off the map, get to 1,800 colony. 1,800 colonists is about 2 markets, 2/3 full, maybe 2/3 to 3/4. So that's doable, assuming that we have enough space. And then resist all the swarms. So we're going to have swarms coming in, and we have Villages of Doom to worry about. But we've got 80 days to do it in. It is a 4-skull difficulty mission, so I was kind of curious about that. When we spawned in, we found that we were in the upper left-hand corner and had a train entrance and exit in the upper corner. We sent the soldier in to take a look, and indeed they were both those protected entries and exits, so I don't have to worry about any zombies coming in from that direction. Then we took the Rangers and did a quick sweep around and found out that we had a choke point just to our southeast. And the very first thing I look at is I see a choke point, I see a stone quarry, an iron quarry, and I got force behind me and a little bit of water around me. I mean, they are setting me up to be a siege here, right? I mean, I get this choke point I got to be sure to protect. And if they're doing this for me, I'm probably going to need it. And when we did take a look around, we found pretty quickly that there was a Village of Doom just outside of that choke point. And so rather than hit that Village of Doom, which would initiate a small horde, we left it alone while we did some building in the background. I mean, as long as I can build, I'm fine. I kept a couple of guards up there from the Rangers. I kept my one soldier further back, because if the soldier starts shooting and making a lot of noise, he can also activate that. He can activate that Village of Doom. But we just went around the back and we built up our lumber. We built up our housing to get some gold up. We put up food, and pretty much we expanded to our capacity in that small little island area. And once we got to capacity there, it became time for us to drop a forward wall. And when we dropped the forward wall, we started to hit that Village of Doom, and it went down pretty quick, even with just our 5 guys. So that worked out pretty well. With that Village of Doom gone, we were able to focus a little bit more on growth. We got ourselves out, started looking around, and that's when I started to notice that pretty much every zombie I ran into was a spitter. And the Rangers can certainly handle a small number of spitters. You shoot, you take a spitter down, maybe 2 if you're lucky. You back up before the spit lands, and you go back in, you do it again, take out a guy, maybe 1.5, back up. And you do this constant giving ground, this fighting retreat with your Rangers. And it's fairly micro-intensive, so you really got to pay attention to what you're doing. If you just go off for a minute and do something while the timer's running, they'll spit a couple of times on your Rangers, and they'll wipe them all out. And we lost a number of Rangers throughout this episode just to that kind of a thing. So we did push out a little bit around the outside to see what was there. We found another Village of Doom that we ended up dealing with. But again, we were pushing out. And the thing is, with the spitters continually popping in, it made it really hard to push out in the beginning. The other thing is this is about the point. I think maybe a half hour into the game, and I figure out that I am so focused on my micro that I'm not spending my resources. I'm not expanding. I'm not growing. I'm not doing all the things I need to do to make sure that I can survive a horde. So that's kind of dangerous. So certainly where the micro is there, pause key is your friend. Pause the game, go take care of your economy, do some more micro. Pause the game, go back, take care of your economy, pause, And I was having that problem. Not only was I not keeping my economy up, but I wasn't building units either. And so I kept running kind of shy on things. One of the things I find with the Ranger is there's a sweet spot of around 15 to 20 Rangers where I can use about that many. I can take out 1 or 2 spitters fairly quickly, sometimes before they even spit, and I can move them back out of range. But if I have more than that, there's too many guys to move around, and you start losing people to the spit. So I would suggest hitting to about 20 of your Rangers, stop there, and then start focusing on defense and start maybe get to the point where you have snipers. Snipers did pretty well, in my opinion. I think for the low tier units, again, snipers are really proving themselves out, especially if you can put them behind a wall. Keep them behind the wall by at least 3 or 4 tiles, though, because the spitters, while they spit, if you're up against the wall, that acid comes around and hits you too. And I lost easily in the first engagement half of my Rangers to just having them spit on my walls and me being too close. But we did expand out to the island as much as we possibly could, and then we started to extend out. And by this point in time, we had even though we got out there and looked around to see what was with us, to where we might want to put our walls, it was getting really close to a horde time. So we did put out some Tesla towers to expand before they got here, but then they came in from the north. And as we saw, at least in the first one, I had some walls up. We tried to defend that. They came through. I had to do a fighting retreat. But the Rangers, they still hold their own. I mean, especially if you're using the pause key and you're really focusing hard on that. But of course, if you're focusing hard on that, you're not doing your economy, you're not building your units. So keep an eye on that. But I was not expecting the horde that came in to be nothing but spitters. And that's exactly what we got. Nothing but spitters. All day, all the time, everywhere. They did get to the wall, the choke point for my main city, but they didn't get through because I was doing some playing around with them. But it cost me. By the time I was done, I had lost nearly every Ranger I had. And most of them were already vets, too. So that was a fairly costly engagement. A better micro will help there. So my opinion is you do need to push out. If you know the map, then you'll see that as you expand out to the map, there are some natural choke points to use for your expansion. I went to the southwest in my expansion a little bit, and then I moved up to the northeast, and found a Village of Doom that I had to mess around with for a while. And that damn Village of Doom kept me busy for a while. It primarily kept me busy because spitters just kept coming in piecemeal, and I had to keep doing a fighting retreat every time I ran into a spitter. So it really dragged my expanse. So the Rangers, where they can handle that, I'm not sure necessarily that the Ranger is the best unit for it. I'm still doubtful. I didn't try a horde or a squad of soldiers because of the noise they make, and I was concerned that they would just get overrun. I think that would be the case. The snipers are just too slow, so once you engage, you're engaged. So maybe do something like I did in the Harpy missions, where I threw up a tower. And then I ran some snipers, or ran my Rangers around to lure them into the range of the snipers, and the snipers took them out. You might do that. I just kept doing the fighting retreat thing until I had a big enough area and I could just expand. And I rushed an expansion over and threw down a wall. Once you've got the wall down, that certainly does help. So for this particular map, I kind of feel like a wall to the northeast is maybe a good early start. I didn't. I put a wall on the southwest, preceded by walls to the south, and I decided to let that be my next place I was going to try to hold. I did get hit by some spitters, and I was having a really hard time trying to keep my Ranger count up. But I did get out, and I started to build the second market's worth of housing, and I'm easily an hour and a half into the game. I'm pushing day 30, and I don't think I have much to show for 15 days worth of growth. I think I could have done better. I kept going back and finding that my research had stalled, that I hadn't built the next thing. Like I think I sat on the stone workhouse or workshop for a while, and I sat on the foundry forever. So I think having those up early would have been beneficial, but I was really trying to figure out how to deal with these spitters using the lower tier units, soldiers, snipers, and Rangers. And like I said, I think snipers are really good on the defense. They usually are. stick them behind a wall. Then while the spitters are up there spitting away at the wall, the snipers are picking off the guys. Now, one of the things I did note, I think it was 2 shots from a sniper to take down a spitter. So if you want to take them down fast, you need a lot of snipers. I don't think I put enough snipers out for that. I kind of had that when I finally built my defense up to the south. I think I had a pretty solid defense, and we held out there with very little effort twice. But on day 30, we had the horde come in from the south. Or actually, I think they came in from the east, actually. But the east was really the southeast. So here's another thing. The directions they can come in from aren't as wide-ranged as we are used to in other episodes. They when they come in from the northwest or the northeast, they come in a very small band. When they came in from the south, they also came in as a solid group against one wall. In fact, I had an open area just to the east of my second front walls that they could have just run right through and not had any kind of resistance. But because of the way they're pathing, their AI just takes them straight into the housing area, and so they ran right through the wall. We did put up a second set of walls just to try to slow them down because we're like, I got some time, let's throw some walls up. Thank God, because these spitters, man, they came in and they wrecked face. They didn't get through the wall, but they certainly did a lot of damage and opened up the wall. So at that point, again, I'd lost about half my rangers. So then I was trying to get out there. I'm still trying to push, and I'm beginning to realize that, what kind of defenses I need. So I'm really beefing up my defenses, and I'm forgetting to build up my population. I needed to get the pop going again. And so I really need to be focusing, get the pop up, get the resources up, just keep enough defenses going so that you can fight off any of the hordes or anything that are coming in, maybe clear a little bit. But I think I was trying too hard to clear the map. And I should have been spending time growing my economy, booming up to some of the high tier units, because it turns out later on they did pretty well. So from this, I also tried to do a concave barrier to allow me to focus a lot of damage to the center. That does not work with spitters. They hit the edges, they open up the edges, and boom, they're in. And so I think a flat defense is better for spitters. Maybe even a pointy one. Maybe instead of going concave, go convex. That could have been it. I also noticed that I was running out of power, and I kept dropping down power after power after power, and I didn't realize I was also not keeping up with my wood. So yet again, my economy is suffering because I'm spending all my freaking time doing nothing but fighting retrograde actions with my rangers. I think it was probably 2 hours in before I really started to realize, this isn't working. I need to put down a foundry. I need to start working on an engineering center. I need to get out some of the higher tier units. Let's see what they're like. So I haven't tried higher tier units yet. The only ones I had was for swarms, and I think I had like a spattering of spitters in the swarms. So I really never noticed whether they were good or not. Once I got some of the Thantos out, then not the Lucifers out, that gave me a chance to play with them. And then one of the things I did notice is that the Lucifers have a lot of resistance. They have good armor resistance. They have specific acid resistance. So all damage they take is reduced by 25%. So they get hit by 100 points, they take 75. They have 100% fire resistance, which is good because the Lucifers are always setting things on fire. But they have 65% venom resistance. They can wander into just a horde of spitters and not melt, which was great. The other thing about them is they have an insane regen rate. So we were able to actually use them kind of like the Rangers a little bit, but we'd move them in, they're a little slower. We'd aggro a whole pile of the spitters, then we'd withdraw, and they move fast enough that they can avoid getting hit with spit. I did try to do at one point, I think it was right around 2 hours and 30 minutes in, I tried to spread out the Lucifers and do a staggering retreat. to see if the regeneration rate was fast enough for me to do that. Very intensive on the micro. Kinda worked a little bit, not a lot. I think a better thing is to take a group of, maybe I had 9 at one point there. I took a group of 9, and then I would aggro a number of them. I'd pull back so that they would bunch up, and then I would specifically attack one of them in the back of the crowd, so that my guys would step right up into the faces of all the spitters. And then once they melted the one guy, they melted everything, because they're area of effect weapons. So worked out really well. I was able to kill 20 of them, up to 20 of them at a time. And then I could retreat. And while I was retreating, they would regenerate. And I wouldn't have to go all the way back to a wall. I could just regenerate back some 10 hexes or 10 spaces. By the time I got 10 spaces back, they were good enough to go back at it again. So that was actually kind of handy, and I actually used that later on in one of the final hordes. So I found them to be very effective units against the spitters. The rangers were not so. Once you got into a big mass, they really weren't very effective at all. I mean, you're talking about getting attacked by 50, 60, 80 spitters, and you're taking 2 out at a time. 2 ain't gonna work. 2 don't hack it. So one of the things that you can do is you go and you can hide behind a structure that they're going to attack. And while they're attacking the structure, you have free reign to drop arrows on them. And you can kill quite a few of them that way. But they take out the structure and then you have to retreat again. So really, I don't find the Rangers to be very effective at all in managing this kind of a combat. I think the Rangers were best for just moving around. I think they could also be used to gather up a bunch of spitters and feed them into the Lucifers. So that's another thing I didn't actually try, but I could do that. I then also built out some of the Titans. I didn't realize I had Titans. That was kind of a nice thing. Was it there? It was Titans. So I put out a couple of the Titans, and I didn't get to see them play until I think it was the 65th day horde or 60th day horde, because the 45th day horde or 45 day horde came in from the south. It was the 60th day horde that came in from the northeast that I was actually kind of worried about when I saw that they were going to come in from that direction. And it turns out that they weren't that tough at all. And yeah, they came in from the north. And one of the things that we saw with that is they tried to chew through the upper corner, and they really didn't do all that much. With all of the snipers that I had up there and the 3 ballistas were really good against them, and the couple of Titans, that's where I started to see that the Titans were actually doing some pretty good damage. I didn't really get a chance to create a squad of Titans and go out and fight like I did with the Lucifers. I'm not sure that they can stand up to a batch, because the Lucifers got the 65% acid resistance and 25% damage resistance. So if against spitters, they're unusually effective. I think the Titans, they did get around and they were taking critters out, but I think you're going to have to keep a high number of them, and they're kind of expensive if you're going to lose one of them. So we did end up building up our walls. I did try to push the very end to make sure that I had enough bodies. We did get the bodies that we needed by day 60, but I hadn't cleared out the map. So I had to keep pushing down to try to clear the map. And we had another horde coming in 5 days later, day 65. And that was coming in from all directions. And yet again, the northeast held without a problem in that corner. I worried a little bit about it. I put some bodies up there, and it turned out to be not a big deal. So I think the delay for my expansions down to the south and to the west were a little bit painful. The west ended up holding. I could have done better with the west if I had a little bit more time, and I built that out. It only had one wall. It could have been far better than it was, but the south came up and it wrecked face. It ran through all sorts of stuff that I had, but there was enough stuff in the way to prevent them from advancing too far that they didn't actually get to the main south wall on the west side. I did push a bit more down there to make sure I tried to clear everything out. And then the 65th day horde came in, and that's the one that did the wrecking of face. And we did pretty well with that, like I said, from all the directions except for south. And the south was painful. That was definitely painful. The east did damage. They also broke through the wall on the south side, but they didn't get through the wall on the south side. And they did take out a Titan, too. So, Titans aren't immune. And then we were presented with the, you win. And I'm like, I do? Because I didn't feel like I had cleared everything off the map. Apparently, I had cleared enough off the map by pushing earlier when I was down there pushing them with the Lucifers and then the Rangers to try to get everything down at the very end, south end of the map. I got enough. So we won. And I was really surprised because I was thinking I was going to lose this because I wasn't able to push down there hard enough. So 3.5 hours worth of gameplay came down to just doing the fighting retreat with spitters. So I think the spitter thing, high end, specifically Lucifers, are really key against them because of the acid resistance and damage resistance. You just have to keep moving them into the face of the spitters. Otherwise, they kind of hang back a little bit, and then they get pelted. So you really need to make sure that they're aggressively getting in there to fight. Titans look like they might have some promise. Didn't try it. And I don't yet have Thanatos, so we'll have to see how that turns out. So come back and join me. Let's get out of the after action report and move into research. Well, and that's the after action report. Let's get down now into the tech and stuff. So, colony completed. Yes, thank you. Noxious Swamp goes to another special. Yes, it is another hero. So we're taking on a swarm next, and we're going to be going into the laboratory because, as I mentioned on the Noxious Swamp, without going into the other two, the Medical Gamma Center and the Fortress of Steel, I don't think I would have made it through the Noxious Swamp. Even as it was pretty damn close. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at experience. So I am up to, let's see, I got oil transport now. Yeah, that's right. Because I had like 80 oil or 90 oil. And it was just because every 24 hours they bring me some oil. That's sweet. I need high technology to get ingot transport. High tech will give me reduced building time. Which gets me into additional attack damage, armor, shock towers need less energy, mercenaries. And then I'm at the end. Wow, really? Titan damage is up. Mutant. Improved augmented reality. I like the idea of getting view range and attack range. I was really feeling the pain before. Range on those, Tesla towers, building solar energy. Nice. What does this one do? No, just okay. Oil has boost and the wasp. All right. So I'm looking back this way now. New Thanatos. Rocket launcher with a very long range. It can annihilate dozens of infected with a single shot. When the enemy are too close, Thanatos will fight face to face. So one of the things I did note was that the Titan had a decent range, and I could put him back there at the same spot with like the sniper towers, and he was kicking ass. So I'm kind of thinking maybe out in the very front I could do the Lucifers, double wall, wasps, catapults with snipers and Titans, and then maybe behind that do Thanatos. That would be a pretty high DPS wall, I would think. But I need to get some extra production here. Let's go down here to the other side. Okay, so turbines plus 30% energy. I was really hurting on the energy. I was badly hurting on energy. So I'm actually thinking of maybe doing that. No, I don't need the soldiers. The lodging, the new inn is tempting. And then getting like mercs every 3 days. So I went 60 days, that would be 20 mercs. Maybe? The Silent Beholder. I'm wondering also if my range things was due to a lack of vision. You know, the rangers wouldn't shoot from as far away as I think they can. The stake traps, slowing things down. I think actually medicine now is looking tasty to me. And then there's getting kills per corpse. That would certainly help with some cash. But I think at the moment my biggest pain is energy. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do mercs too. I have 200, so I can't do both of these. I can pick one. Let's look over here a little bit more. Tactics. Quicker vet. Oh, black market. Right. I'm actually thinking that might be the... Oh, yes. I'm thinking maybe. Here, new advanced mill. Then I can upgrade the mills. Or I can go to... Oh, I could go to the lightning spire. Oh, I bet you I have to research that in the stone workshop, huh? I am way torn. I think I'm gonna do a lightning tower. No. No. Black market. Alright. I resisted. Alright. So, there we go. Now we're gonna go for the infested. And then we'll do the lab after that. But thank you for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.
Creeping through the shadows in the corners of your mind. I go where the wind blows. I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering the name. No, I can't be tamed. My heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a